In a striking statement, former President Donald Trump recently declared that if he wins the upcoming election, he will remove Special Counsel Jack Smith in 2 seconds. This latest statement has heightened concerns over Trump's approach to the justice system and reignited discussions around the limits of presidential authority, the checks and balances within the Department of Justice, DOJ, and what could happen if Trump were to reclaim the Oval Office. Trump's remarks come amid ongoing investigations and charges related to his actions during and after the 2020 election. Critics argue that his comments are a thinly veiled threat against the independence of the DOJ and Special Counsel Jack Smith, who has been instrumental in advancing various high-profile investigations into Trump. With Trump openly suggesting that he would use the powers of the presidency to interfere with DOJ proceedings, experts are examining the legal frameworks, historical precedents, and potential outcomes of such an approach. This video takes a deep dive into the implications of Trump's recent statements. We explore the historical parallels of the Saturday Night Massacre under President Richard Nixon, the powers a sitting president has over special counsels, and what a second Trump presidency could mean for ongoing state-level investigations that are outside federal jurisdiction. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to reaching 5,000 subscribers, but we can't do it without you. So, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe right now. And if you're already subscribed, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment to let me know your thoughts. Alright, let's dive right into it. Trump's statements and the current legal landscape. In a recent broadcast, Trump promised that, if re-elected, he would fire Special Counsel Jack Smith within 2 seconds of taking office. While a president technically does not have the direct authority to fire a special counsel, there are ways to bring about such a dismissal. One approach would involve appointing an attorney general willing to follow Trump's directive, thereby bypassing the safeguards typically protecting special counsel independence. This maneuver would, however, come with significant legal hurdles and pushbacks, raising constitutional questions about the balance of power. Special Counsel Jack Smith has been deeply involved in investigating and bringing charges against Trump, especially those relating to Trump's conduct following the 2020 election. Trump's criticism of Smith underscores the former president's resistance to the investigation's legitimacy and his stated willingness to intervene, if necessary, to dismiss the charges. Trump's recent comments also reflect an escalating tension between the DOJ's mission and Trump's goal of dismissing any prosecutorial efforts against him. The Saturday Night Massacre and its modern implications. Trump's pledge to remove Jack Smith draws comparisons to the 1973 Saturday Night Massacre during President Nixon's administration. In that instance, Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox subpoenaed tapes that could incriminate Nixon in the Watergate scandal. In response, Nixon ordered Attorney General Elliot Richardson to fire Cox, a directive Richardson refused. Following Richardson's resignation, Deputy Attorney General William Ruckelshaus also refused and resigned. Nixon eventually found compliance in Solicitor General Robert Bork, who fired Cox, a decision later deemed unlawful by a federal court. The Saturday Night Massacre is a landmark example of a president using executive power to influence an independent investigation. If Trump were to attempt something similar, he would need an attorney general ready to fulfill his demands without question. Judge Aileen Cannon, who presided over Trump's classified documents case in Florida, has emerged as a potential candidate for this role. Cannon previously ruled in Trump's favor in an unusual move that raised eyebrows among legal experts. If appointed, she might be inclined to follow Trump's orders, possibly leading to another high-profile clash over the limits of executive power. Exploring Trump's proposed strategy and legal boundaries. While Trump may not directly control DOJ prosecutions, he can influence them indirectly through the Attorney General and other DOJ officials. The president appoints the Attorney General, who oversees the DOJ and its various prosecutorial divisions, including the Special Counsel's office. Thus, by choosing an Attorney General sympathetic to his objectives, Trump could set the tone for his DOJ, potentially leading to Jack Smith's removal. Should a new Attorney General dismiss Smith, questions would arise about whether such an action is legal and enforceable. The courts would likely be drawn into the matter, and there's a strong chance that the legality of such a move would face challenges. However, Trump's past disregard for legal norms suggests he may not be concerned with such constraints, especially given his repeated public statements discrediting the independence of the judiciary and law enforcement. State-level investigations. Why they matter. Trump's proposed strategy to dismantle federal investigations would not affect state-level prosecutions. State attorneys general and local prosecutors operate independently from the federal DOJ and are not beholden to the U.S. president. For instance, Fani Willis, the district attorney of Fulton County, Georgia, is pursuing charges against Trump related to alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. Similarly, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is investigating Trump's financial practices. If Trump were to win the presidency, these state-level cases would not automatically end. However, they could face delays, as some legal experts argue that sitting presidents should not be prosecuted while in office. This doctrine remains unsettled and might ultimately require a Supreme Court ruling to determine whether a sitting president can face state criminal charges. Yet, because these cases operate outside the federal system, Trump's influence over them would be limited compared to federal investigations. Consequently, these state-level cases remain critical to efforts to hold Trump accountable. Political and legal implications of Trump's actions. A second Trump administration would likely face intense scrutiny for its approach to law enforcement, judicial independence, and the rule of law. Trump's approach reflects his long-standing view of the presidency as a position of near-absolute authority, which many legal scholars believe is contrary to the constitutional principle of separation of powers. A president with unchecked powers over DOJ proceedings could undermine the institution's independence, reducing the rule of law to an instrument of political will. The specter of a potential Trump presidency has spurred conversations about the role of voter participation in preventing a return to what many view as a lawless approach to governance. Trump's recent statements, combined with the broader political implications of the 2024 election, underscore the importance of democratic engagement and highlight the stakes involved in a second Trump presidency. Call to action. Voting and civic responsibility. For citizens concerned about the rule of law, the importance of voting in the 2024 election cannot be overstated. Individual votes in every precinct count, and voter turnout could make the difference in swing states where margins have historically been narrow. Activists and concerned citizens are encouraging others to participate in early voting to help minimize election day disruptions. By casting ballots early, voters help campaigns shift resources toward undecided voters, which can have a substantial impact on final results. Additionally, concerns about public safety at polling places remain high. Trump and his allies have encouraged supporters to monitor polling locations, a move seen by some as a form of voter intimidation. To avoid potential conflicts on Election Day, voters who can participate in early voting are encouraged to do so, reducing the chances of encountering tension at polling stations. Trump's statement about removing Special Counsel Jack Smith has sparked a critical conversation about the limits of presidential authority, the independence of the Department of Justice, and the potential consequences of a second Trump administration. Drawing on historical events like the Saturday Night Massacre, Trump's approach suggests a willingness to exploit executive powers to serve personal interests, disregarding established legal precedents and norms. As the 2024 election approaches, voters are reminded of the role they play in safeguarding democratic institutions. The independence of the judiciary and the integrity of the DOJ are foundational to the American legal system, and efforts to undermine these principles threaten the very fabric of democracy. Voting, especially early voting, remains one of the most effective tools for citizens to voice their concerns and shape the future of the nation. In the end, the power lies in the hands of the voters. Their decisions will determine whether the rule of law remains an objective standard or if it becomes another instrument of political maneuvering. With Trump's plans openly stated, the stakes for the 2024 election have never been higher.